So today I'm going to be presenting Hurricane Matthew and Typhoon Jebi, which are the tropical storm case studies that you need to know in A-level geography, AQA, and this is in the hazards topic. So first of all, I'm going to talk about Hurricane Matthew, and then I'm going to talk about Typhoon Jebi. Again, the arrows do not work. I don't know why I always fool myself with them. Okay, so this is the first one. So in the specification, it specifically says that you need to know 2 recent tropical storms contrasting areas of the world, hence why we're doing both. Okay, so quickly, this graph or just diagram shows the path of Hurricane Matthew. Okay, so some of the features. It was a Category 5 hurricane, as you can see around here. This happened in October of 2016. There were wind speeds of 160 miles per hour and pressure at 934 millibars, and lasted 8 days. So the development, it began as a tropical wave off the east coast of Africa. 6 days later, it was classed as a tropical storm. As it passed the Caribbean basin, it underwent explosive intensification, changed from Category 1 to Category 5 within 24 hours. So as you see here, Category 1, and here, Category 5. This happened because of the very warm surface temperatures and weak vertical wind shear. As you can see, this hurricane happened right around the beginning of autumn, where the temperature of the ocean is very warm because when the sun hits the ocean and it's the albedo effect, where dark color absorbs more heat. So when the heat from the sun is absorbed, it stays in the ocean to right around October time. Hence why you see a lot of hurricanes happening at around October. So 500 millimeters of rain fell over North Carolina, causing widespread flooding and estimated $4 to $6 billion in losses. So some preparation for Matthew. Effectiveness of preparedness measures depend on resource availability and quality of local and national governance. Common responses were cancellation of flights, closures of schools and businesses, boarding of houses and stockpiling of supplies, mass evacuations to emergency shelters. There were so many losses because of heavily populated coastlines. Millions of people were affected by loss of power and blocked roads. Extensive sand dune erosion and breached seawalls, which allowed coastal flooding. Inland raised rivers caused extensive damage and were responsible for most deaths. So as you can probably see on the map, Haiti was in the track of Matthew. So this is kind of also why it's the multi-hazardous case study, because of Hurricane Matthew and the Haiti earthquake. So rainfall peaked at Tiburon Peninsula at 1,000 millimeters. Being so poor and still recovering from the 2010 earthquake that devastated Port-au-Prince, it didn't have capacity for another large-scale natural disaster. Haiti only had schools for shelters to protect 390,000 people, far short of the number of people threatened by Matthew. Many people were unaware of the impending arrival of Matthew or refused to leave their homes, which does further that culture of immobilism that I mentioned in the Haiti video. So the timeline and effects. So the hurricane made landfall as Category 4 in Haiti. Widespread flooding with coastal settlements affected by storm surge of 3 meters. Trees, buildings, and telecommunications were brought down. This, with collapsed bridges, large populations were isolated, and rescue efforts were delayed afterwards. It took 4 days for international aid to arrive. 3.1 billion people were affected, 175,000 people were made homeless, adding to the 1.1 billion people adding to the 1.1 million people already homeless from the earthquake in 2010. 1,600 people died, damages up to £1.8 million. Most deaths were as a result of people not evacuating and subsequently being buried by rubble as their houses collapsed, which you can sort of also relate to the fatalist approach. This hurricane reintroduced the cholera, if you remember from the Haiti video where there was an outbreak of cholera. So this one was brought in by the UN officials in 2010. Matthew destroyed 34 cholera treatment centers, creating a crisis in the following week from drinking dirty water. 29 deaths were reported. The WHO, or the World Health Organization, sent 1 million anti-cholera vaccines to Haiti. Worst affected area was the Tiburon, I don't know how to say it, peninsula town of Jeremy, virtually flattened. 80% of the infrastructure and housing was damaged. Something additional, in this town of Jeremy, rice prices soared immediately after Matthew. 80,000 people faced critical food shortages 3 weeks after the event. Road access to Port-au-Prince was impossible due to flooding and mudslides washing away bridges. Aid had to be flown in, and after 2 weeks they were able to restore most telecommunications and road networks. Okay, now on to Typhoon Jebi. Again, the photo shows the track where it hits Japan over here. Some features. It happened on the 4th of September 2018. It was the largest typhoon to hit Japan in 25 years. Highest wind speed was 125 miles per hour. It was a Category 3 typhoon. 17 deaths, 400 injuries, evacuation of more than 1 million people, and there were $12 billion in losses. And you can compare this directly with Hurricane Matthew, how Typhoon Jebi had a higher amount of losses but less deaths, and you could make an argument as to why. In terms of development, it started as an area of low pressure. After 2 days, developed into a tropical depression. So right around here. It took a westward track and intensified as it approached the northern Mariana Islands. It became a typhoon on the 29th of August as Category 3 super typhoon on the 31st of August and Category 5 with winds of 175 miles per hour. There is an error on my PowerPoint. It should say that the typhoon was broken by wind shear when it changed direction, not that wind shear broke down by wind shear. I don't know how that makes any sense. Okay, so the timeline and effects. So the storm made landfall on the main island of Honshu, the smallest main island in Japan, which brought heavy rainfall and high winds. Waves crashed over sea defenses, roof panels were dislodged and blown away, high-sided vehicles toppled over. 3,000 people were trapped at the terminal of Kansai International Airport on a human-made island called Osaka Bay, covered in seawater, flooding the runway. The Haon Maru, a 2,600-ton tanker, was reported to have slammed into the side of a structure. The 11 people crew were unhurt, but the tanker and bridge were damaged. 100 millimeters of rain fell on one part of Kyoto in an hour. Several people were injured at Kyoto Station when a part of a glass ceiling collapsed. 800 domestic and international flights, ferry train services were cancelled. Bullet train services between Tokyo and Hiroshima were suspended. 1.6 million households remained without power in Osaka and Kyoto. This strained Japan's recovery budget as the country dealt with several natural disasters during 2016, e.g., flooding and earthquakes. 16,000 people were spent the night in shelters across 20 regions. The next day, a high-speed boat arrived to transfer stranded passengers from Kansai International Airport to Kobe Airport. The bridge linking the island and mainland was damaged due to a ship colliding with it. Within 24 hours, the number of households with power halved to 530,000. Mitigation. Roads and public buildings in coastal cities like Osaka allowed excess water and rainfall to flow away efficiently and advance coastal defenses and reduce the risk of a storm surge. Construction of private buildings is restricted. Construction of private buildings is strictly controlled to ensure they meet the best practices with natural disaster in mind. When Typhoon Jebi approached, railway operators in Kansai area acted quickly to inform customers they would halt services to prevent chaos at stations, encourage business to let workers stay home to ensure safety. Prime Minister cancelled his visit to the southern prefectures of Fukuoka on September 4th to lead the government response to Typhoon Jebi followed criticism of the government's slow response to flooding in 2018 July. Okay, well, we got through that. There are some past exam questions. You can definitely answer the top one as you've studied now 2 different types of tropical storms. However, it does link changing places. So if you had not studied that completely, then you may not be able to answer that question. And yeah, there's a 20 marker as well, which you need to use a wildfire case study, Fort McMurray. You can use that one. Here is a 9 marker, and here are the graphs and figure 10C. Almost forgot to put that one. Thank you.